Hello, everyone. And what is Power Apps? Power Apps is another add-on that's part of the Microsoft Azure stack. It's also accessed through Office 365, and it's very powerful. We can build great apps with lower and minimal code. It's drag and drop. We can create a phone or tablet app very easily that an end user can use right on their cell phone or on their tablet. What's great about the Power Apps is we can take advantage of the connectivity to our common data model, and we can have it interact with data from our other systems. One of the advantages of Power Apps is all the apps can be used across a variety of platforms. We can build an app, like I said, for a tablet, a phone, or even to use on the web browser. We can also do things like we can extend our ERP system with additional apps using Power Apps. So for example, if we want a part of our ERP system or CRM system to have a custom app, instead of having a developer do it, we can build a Power App that connects to our data and just becomes part of our ERP system. In addition to using the Power Apps in our ERP system, we can also use it in things like SharePoint. If we want to include an app in a SharePoint or other Office 365 screen, we can also embed them there. So the Power Apps is really a cross-platform. Anywhere in the Microsoft stack, we can utilize a Power App. There's a lot of use cases for Power Apps with D365 or Office 365, and we have the ability to use multiple data sources in the same Power App. So a Power App could be used to integrate two different systems. For example, have a Power App to create a new customer and have that customer be created in our CRM system and our ERP system. We can do that with a Power App. So here's some examples in the grid of some example use cases for Power Apps and where we might use it.
Yeah, Dan, and as you show those, I've seen a couple of customers use it in different ways. Some customers have been using it to photograph and track their fixed assets out in a rental yard. Others have done it as people are browsing for various cars as they're auctioning the cars, and they're able to see some data on each car based on their GPS location. So there's quite a lot of applications of Power Apps.
Let's go through a demo of this. So if we want to create a Power App, one of the advantages is there's a set of templates already created for Power Apps. Let's create a Power App for inventory management using the canned inventory management Power App. And when we go to a template, the first option we have is, do we want to use a format for the tablet or a format for the phone? And I'm, for example, going to build one for the phone. So I click the template and it already loads a working Power App pointed to an Excel file for store inventory. And it comes with some different tabs. So for example, there's a first tab where we can search for a certain product. So if we have a product, we can type in a search, or we can click a button to view all the products. And what I want to do is edit this Power App by creating a new button. And actually, before I do that, let me open up the app. So here's an example of the Power App. I go into my store inventory, and I have my inventory, and I have all my products. And I can either search for a product by clicking the search. And then once I find the product I want, I can click into the product and see stats about that product. So I can see this is a basic inner tube. Its list price is $55 per unit. My current stock is 8, and the system is telling me that I'm low. My ideal stock is 73. So what I can do is I can set up an order quantity. And I'm going to say 50, for example, and I'm going to say restock. And when I restock, it's going to place the order. So that's the default app for the Power App for storing inventory. What I want to do is I want to add more functionality to it. The default view is I have the restock button, and I have an inventory level and a current stock. And I want to add a new button. And the new button is going to be to block the item. Let's say that I want the user to be able to block the item because maybe the item should be discontinued or something like that. We're going to go ahead and say block item, and we're going to create new actions for it. So to do that from the Power App window, I'm going to open up the Power App. And this is our main app. We have store inventory. there's an inventory screen. This is a screen where we can see all the products. And then there's a product details screen. And we inserted a new button that blocks the item. And then this button will be set up later to set a flag on the inventory so it goes back to the system and it will modify our ERP system to block the item. And then normally when we click on the restock button, we can click on this restock button and it will take us to this confirmation screen and let us email that to ourselves or go back to the home screen. We now have another confirmation screen we created that has whether or not the item is blocked for sales. So the first thing I did is I added a button, insert a button, and then you can choose where the button goes. In this case, I've set the button here, and then I can configure the properties for this new button to block the item. And then I basically copied this button. The action of this button is going to do some actions and take us to the confirmation screen. In the blocked item, we're going to have us take us to the second confirmation screen. So we're going to take this first screen, duplicate it, and make a duplicate screen for when we block the item. So now when I run the app, I can go in here, I can have a couple of choices. Oops. I didn't mean to create this button. We'll get rid of it. So now when I use this, I can either block the item or I can restock it. So I'll block it. Now it's blocked for sales. So to define the actions, we're going into this block item. We're going to define actions. And then after defining actions, we're able to set those rules so that we control what that block item does. So it's fairly easy to create Power Apps using this online view from a template. A template will give us something to start with, and then we can easily add buttons, add controls, add text. So for example, the Power App is made up of screens, first of all, and then within the screens, we have different items. So on this main screen, I can see I have a variety of images and text boxes that make up the screen. And I can drag new controls in as needed, or change the formatting, change the colors, and make a good looking app. And then I can have additional screens. So now I have a screen of the store inventory. And in this screen, I have different components. For example, different rectangles that all represent each of my products as I'm scrolling through. And then for the next screen, I have a product details card. And this is where I'm adding a new button to block the item. And then I have a couple of confirmation screens, one for when I place the order and one for when I block the item. Let's say I wanted to create a new Power App. I can create new templates, new apps from templates. So for example, if I go to app templates, there's a variety of pre-built app templates for different types of apps we want to create that we can connect to. We can also create templates by starting with data. So if I have a data set that I want to connect to, I can start an app with my data set. So for example, if I want to connect to D365 or finance and operations, I can use those right away, or I can create an app using one of my common data model tables. So next, I'm going to go into, for example, this release products. I created this earlier. I now have a data set, and I can start building an app with any data set that I started with. Oops. Or I can use a data set from one of my ERP or CRM systems. So here I'm going to go into one of my sandboxes. And I can use any of my tables to start creating an app. So now we'll create one with the release products directly from F&O. And I can start building an app. It's going to actually create a default app for me. So now if I start the app, and now I have a pretty cool starting app that I can use. I can create items, so I can create a test item. So Power Apps is a very flexible tool. It has some advanced features as well that allow you to do some more advanced programming. But in general, creating an app is pretty simple, especially if you start with a predefined ERP or common data model table.